Dear friends, have you ever found it strange how some people go in for a checkup and the doctor says their kidney numbers are high, maybe even time to prepare for dialysis? It's enough to send anyone into a panic. Yet 3 years later, that same person is still healthy, walking in the mornings, gardening in the afternoons, eating and sleeping well, without medication, and never needing dialysis. Meanwhile, someone else, much younger, who only wakes up a bit at night to urinate and still eats reasonably well, with no alarming symptoms, gets a test and finds out they're already in stage 3 kidney failure. Same organ, same elevated creatinine. So why are the outcomes so different? I'm not telling this just to share stories. After more than 15 years of caring for and monitoring chronic kidney patients, I've come to believe in something more and more. True health doesn't lie in test results, but in how well the body can speak for itself. Some people live well with creatinine over 2.0, while others begin to slip into kidney failure with just a bit of poor appetite or nighttime urination. The issue isn't in the numbers, but whether that person has started showing the 5 silent signs. The kidneys are the quietest organs in the body. They don't ache or throb like the heart or liver. But once they speak up, it's often too late. That's why what matters isn't just blood tests. It's learning to listen to those subtle signals from your body, the gentle but persistent knocks. That's why in today's video, I want to share with you the first 5 symptoms I call the whispered warnings from the kidneys. If your body hasn't shown any of these, then congratulations. Your kidneys may be weak, but they haven't crossed the point of no return. But if you have noticed these signs, please don't take them lightly. The key isn't to panic, it's to know where you stand and how much time you still have to protect your health. But that's not all. At the end of this video, I'll reveal something I consider a life-saving secret, a silent indicator that requires no machines, no tests, yet allows me to assess a patient's true potential for recovery simply by observing their daily routine. It's something few doctors talk about, but I believe that if you understand it, you can save yourself a lot of pain and expense in the future. So please join me as we go through each sign, starting with something that seems small, but is often overlooked, the feeling of slightly swollen feet in the late afternoon. It might just sound like your legs are tired from standing too long, but in fact, it could be the very first warning that your kidneys are under stress. Dear friends, has anyone here ever felt that by late afternoon, your legs seem a bit heavier? Not painful, not red, not swollen like arthritis or injury, but your sandals feel tighter, the tops of your feet seem fuller, especially around the ankles. Sometimes when you press a finger into the skin, it leaves a small dent that slowly rises back. Yet by the next morning, everything is normal again. So we brush it off. Maybe we stood too long today, walked a bit more, or maybe it's just aging and water retention. But actually, those seemingly minor signs are the first gentle knocks from your kidneys as they begin to weaken. When kidney function starts to decline, the body struggles to balance salt and water properly. Sodium builds up in the blood, pulling water into soft tissues, most noticeably in the feet, especially by late afternoon when blood pools in the lower limbs and circulation slows down. I once met a woman in Vinh Long, over 60 years old, lively and energetic. Her only complaint was that lately, every afternoon while cooking or sweeping the yard, her sandals felt tight and her feet a bit puffy. But by morning it was gone, so she paid no attention. During a routine checkup, we found her creatinine had climbed, and her glomerular filtration rate had already dropped by nearly half. No obvious symptoms, just those tight feet in the afternoon. What's important to know is that kidney-related swelling in the early stages is very hard to detect. It doesn't hurt, it's not red, not warm, and doesn't cause any obvious discomfort. It's subtle, just like the way kidneys quietly do their job throughout our lives. And because it's so gentle, we often overlook it. But if we learn to observe, to listen to our bodies, then even something as simple as unusually tight sandals at the end of the day can be a precious clue for early detection. However, if you're still able to wear your sandals comfortably all day, no swelling, no tightness morning or evening, that's truly good news. It means your kidneys are still effectively balancing water and salt, and they're not overworked. That said, let me remind you that one symptom alone is never enough to draw conclusions. Some people don't have any swelling, but they begin to show other clearer signs, signs they often don't associate with kidney problems at all. One such symptom happens in the morning, right after waking up. Quiet, gentle, but potentially serious if ignored. To understand more, let's move on to the second symptom, morning nausea and a loss of appetite. It may seem like a stomach issue, but it's actually a sign that the kidneys haven't been able to properly cleanse the blood through the night. Have you ever woken up feeling like your mouth is bland, your throat a little queasy, and your stomach not in the mood for breakfast? Even if the night before you ate light and on schedule? Some people chalk it up to aging, saying it's normal to eat less when you get older. Others blame the stomach and quietly suffer through it, taking digestive enzymes for a few days. But few realize that this queasiness and lack of appetite in the morning is one of the first messages from the kidneys, struggling through the night to clean the blood. Even while we sleep, the body continues to work, and the kidneys quietly labor for 7 to 8 hours to process waste, urea, creatinine, and other toxins. But if the kidneys are weak, this process slows down. Waste isn't fully eliminated and begins to build up in the blood. By morning, it starts to have an effect, especially on the digestive system, making people feel nauseated, bloated, with a scratchy throat, bitter taste, or even mild bad breath before eating anything. I remember a man in his 60s from Long An. Every morning he drank black coffee but never ate breakfast. When asked, he laughed. "Eating in the morning makes me queasy. Been like that for years." He thought it was just age or a weak stomach. But when we ran a blood test, his urea levels were significantly high. His kidney function had already dropped noticeably, but because there was no pain or visible symptoms, he had no idea he was on the brink of chronic kidney failure. Unfortunately, this symptom often gets ignored because it shows up in the morning, when everyone's rushing around. Some people just drink a quick glass of water and head out. Others blame it on poor sleep or stress. But in truth, if every morning you wake up feeling slightly nauseous, no appetite, bitter taste, or stale breath, please don't brush it off. On the other hand, if you still enjoy breakfast, feel refreshed in the morning, with a light stomach and no odd tastes, that's a very good sign. It means your kidneys are still capable of filtering toxins overnight, and your digestive system is in sync with your body's rhythm. But also remember, just because you can't eat doesn't mean you're in the clear. And just because you've lost your appetite doesn't mean it's just a stomach issue. Because there's another symptom, often overlooked, but it acts like a mirror of your kidney function. That is, your breath. Sounds strange, doesn't it? But it's true. There's a faint smell, not quite foul, not like food, and not from poor oral hygiene, but more like a subtle ammonia scent in your breath each morning. And this is the third sign I want you to pay close attention to, because it reveals something quite remarkable. Your body is urinating through the lungs. Let's take a closer listen to understand what that really means. When kidney function declines, toxins like urea and ammonia, which are normally expelled through urine, begin to build up in the bloodstream. At that point, the lungs step in to help. Instead of just exhaling carbon dioxide as usual, the lungs start releasing small amounts of ammonia through the breath. The result? Each breath, especially in the morning, carries a faint urine-like odor that the person may not even notice. But those living with them, especially a spouse, are much more likely to detect. I once met a 65-year-old man from Travain. His wife said, "Every morning, I notice a strange smell, like urine on his breath. But since he still seemed healthy and ate well, I figured it was just from eating fermented foods or staying up late." It wasn't until he went for a general checkup with both blood and urine tests that we discovered he was already in stage 2 kidney failure. His blood urea was high, and his detoxification process had noticeably slowed. The danger lies in how subtle this odor is. It's not strong or obvious, and sometimes only appears early in the morning after a night of toxin buildup. During the day, as you eat and go about life, other smells mask it, so it's easy to overlook. If you don't notice any odd smells in your breath, no bitterness in the mouth, and your tongue doesn't look pale or coated, congratulations. Your body is still managing to balance detoxification, and your kidneys aren't yet relying on your lungs to help. But as I always emphasize, having no symptoms doesn't mean your kidneys are completely healthy. And if you truly want to protect your health, keep an eye on another symptom, not in your breath, not in your blood tests, but quietly emerging on your skin. A kind of itch with no rash, no redness, nothing like allergies. But it keeps you tossing and turning at night, scratching endlessly, with ointments offering only temporary relief before it returns. Many blame liver problems, internal heat, or seasonal allergies. But in truth, the culprit may lie deep within the kidneys. So now, let's take a closer look at the fourth symptom. A persistent nighttime itch, a quiet cry from your skin when the toxins in your blood are no longer being properly filtered. When the kidneys weaken, waste substances like urea, phosphate, and creatinine are no longer fully excreted in the urine. They gradually accumulate in the blood and seep into the skin. Once they reach a certain level, they cause subtle irritation, leading to a long-lasting, hard-to-describe itch. This isn't your typical allergic reaction. It doesn't show up as red patches, hives, or rashes, but it creates a deep discomfort, like something crawling under the skin, and no amount of scratching brings relief. I'll never forget a woman from Tianjin who told me she hadn't slept through the night in weeks because of a constant itch on her back. It didn't bother her during the day, but every night she had to use a cold towel and scratched until her arms were tired. She had her liver checked, mild fatty liver, normal enzymes. Doctors gave her antihistamines and anti-inflammatory creams, but they only worked briefly. When I suggested a kidney function test, her creatinine was well above the normal range, and her glomerular filtration rate had dropped by nearly 40%. That's when she realized the itch wasn't coming from outside, but from the toxins in her own bloodstream. Please remember, kidney-related itching often gets worse at night. That's when your body temperature shifts, blood circulation slows, and more toxins accumulate in the skin. It doesn't cause fever or pain, but it steals your sleep, adds stress, and slowly wears you down. If left unchecked, it can lead to fatigue, dry skin, and most importantly, progressive kidney damage, all without you even realizing it. But if you find that you still sleep well every night, with no itching, no need for a fan or medicated oils just to fall asleep, that's a very good sign. It suggests your kidneys still have enough capacity to keep your blood clean, preventing your skin from being poisoned from the inside. Still, as with the previous symptoms, the absence of signs doesn't guarantee complete safety. Now I invite you to look at the fifth symptom, one of the easiest to observe, easiest to detect, but also what I call the kidney's final farewell, delivered through something very familiar, your urine. If you know how to observe it properly, even just one morning trip to the bathroom can reveal whether your kidneys are still strong or already running out of strength. Dear friends, morning is the most honest time for your urine to reflect the state of your kidneys. After a full night of rest, with no food, drink, or medication to interfere, your morning urine shows clearly how well your kidneys are functioning. If you go to the bathroom first thing in the morning and notice that your urine is dark like strong tea, with foam that doesn't disappear quickly, lingering thick like soap bubbles, and maybe even carrying a sharp odor, please don't ignore it. That's not just because of hot weather or not drinking enough water, as many people think. It's very likely a sign that protein is leaking through the kidneys and your glomerular filtration is significantly impaired. I once met a man from Kanto. He told me that lately, every morning, he urinates very little. It's dark and strong smelling, but he just assumed it was due to the heat. He didn't feel sick or tired, just thought the urine looked a bit strange. But when we ran tests, his urine was positive for albumin and his glomerular filtration rate had dropped below 45. Luckily, we caught it in time, and with changes to his diet and rest, dialysis wasn't needed. But had he waited a few more months, things might have been very different. When kidneys begin to fail, they can no longer retain protein in the blood. Protein, which should nourish the body, starts leaking into the urine, creating that persistent foam. At the same time, urine output decreases as the kidneys can no longer regulate water effectively. All those small changes, the color, smell, volume, and foam, are the final signals your kidneys send out before reaching a stage that requires medical intervention. But if you still see that your morning urine is light in color, without excessive foam or odd smells, and you're urinating a consistent amount, that's a very good sign. It shows your kidneys are still capable of filtering blood and managing water according to your body's natural rhythm. Still, as I've repeated from the beginning, having none of the 5 symptoms doesn't mean you're completely safe, because there is one more factor, rarely discussed, not found in your urine, not visible on your skin, and undetectable by even the most advanced machines. But to me, it's a vital indicator, the one thing that tells me whether a patient still has the strength to recover or whether their body is already nearing the limits of its resilience without even realizing it. And now, as promised at the beginning of this video, I invite you to listen to the one thing I've always quietly observed in every kidney patient over the past 15 years. A simple truth, so easy to see in just one morning, yet more powerful than any test result. Dear friends, over the years of working alongside kidney patients, I've come to believe more and more in this truth. Lab tests can measure numbers, but they can't measure vitality. They can't capture the will of a tired body to recover. That's why there's one indicator I always look at first, before creatinine, before GFR, and that is the body's ability to bounce back after fatigue. It may sound simple, but it's one of the most profound signs. You don't need an ultrasound, blood test, or doctor. Just quietly observe yourself. After going to the market, cooking, cleaning, do you feel refreshed after 10 or 15 minutes of rest? Can you get up again to read, water the plants, chat with loved ones? Or do you still feel sluggish, heavy-headed, short of breath, needing to lie down for half the day before you can get back up? After a sad event, a sleepless night, or even mild stress, do you feel okay the next morning? Or does the fatigue drag on for days, like your energy has been completely drained? That is the true response of your inner strength. Those who recover quickly still live within what I call the body's biological safe zone, where the heart still pumps strong, the liver still detoxifies effectively, the kidneys still filter well, and the brain remains sharp. But for those who can't get back up after feeling tired, who suffer lingering exhaustion and slow recovery, that's a sign the kidneys are quietly declining. It means the body is losing its ability to self-regulate, entering a warning phase that many people don't even notice. I call this the silent recovery indicator. It doesn't appear on test results, but it's clearly reflected in the rhythm of daily life. I value it more than any number because it reflects true resilience, recovery capacity, and the real chances of extending one's healthy years. So if you find that you bounce back quickly after fatigue, be proud and leave a comment under this video. I recover quickly. That way I'll know and I can celebrate with you because you still have that most precious safe zone within your body. But if you feel tired easily, struggle to recover, or sense you're weakening with time, please don't keep it to yourself, right? I want more guidance. I'll create a special follow-up video showing you how to reactivate your body's natural recovery abilities through simple actions, no medicine, no cost, but effective from the inside out. Because in the end, what determines whether we're truly healthy isn't a blood pressure monitor or a creatinine reading. It's our ability to recover every time the body is tired. Dear friends, we often think of health as something big and distant, hospital stays, surgeries, long lists of test results. But in reality, health isn't found in anything lofty. It lives in the smallest, most ordinary moments of our lives. A deep night's sleep, a delicious breakfast, a fresh breath with no strange odors, feet that don't swell by evening, and a moment of fatigue that passes with just 10 minutes of rest. The kidneys are the quietest organs in our bodies. They don't hurt, don't pound like the heart, don't swell like the liver. They simply filter our blood and take out the trash, day in and day out. And because they're so silent when they finally speak up, it's often when they're already overwhelmed. We can't wait until bad results show up to start worrying. We can't leave our fate in the hands of lab numbers. The most precious thing isn't a perfect score. It's the ability to recover, the power to heal, the strength to return to balance after every bout of weariness. If you still have that, treasure it. And if you're starting to lose it, begin today. Protect the kidneys you still have. Keep that peaceful space alive within your body. I don't hope this video makes you worry. I only hope it helps you look at your body more deeply, to listen more closely to the smallest signs it gives. Because sometimes, just recognizing one early symptom can save you from an exhausting journey of treatment down the line. If you found these insights helpful, please don't keep them to yourself. Share them with your loved ones, your friends, especially those silently facing kidney issues or those who don't yet realize they're at risk. Who knows? A simple message today might just save a precious kidney tomorrow. Wishing you good health, deeper awareness, and many long years ahead, together with your own body, each and every day.